My great nation, dear members of the press, I salute you all with the most heartfelt feelings and affection. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate the holy month of Ramadan, the half of which we are about to complete. The holy month of Ramadan, which the beginning of which is the grace of God, the middle is the remission from sins, and the end is the salvation from the hell's torment. I pray to my Lord that the end of the Ramadan will be reached with peace, stability, and health. Last week we have slightly changed our cabinet. We have divided our Ministry of Family, Labor and Social Services into two, and two of our new ministers have come to their position. Derya Yanık will be the Minister of Family and Social Services, and Vedat Bilgin will be the Minister of Labor and Social Security. And Mehmet Muş will be our Minister of Trade. Once again, I would like to say welcome to them, welcome to our cabinet, and I pray to my Lord for granting success to our ministers. I also would like to thank our ex-ministers Zehra Zümrüt Selçuk and Ruhsar Pekcan for all the contributions and their services for our nation on behalf of myself and on behalf of my nation. I also would like to condemn the lynching campaign carried out against those colleagues. We will always remember our colleagues with gratification, as this was the case for many of our previous colleagues, and whenever there is a need, we will benefit from their experiences. Before this cabinet meeting, I had a chance to host Mr. Ersin Tatar from the TRNC. In our talks, we had a chance to discuss our bilateral relations and also 5+1 UN unofficial meeting which will be taking place in Geneva. With the support he is receiving from the Cypriot nation, Ersin Tatar will bring to the negotiation table the vision of equal sovereignty, and we will give our full support to this vision as the Republic of Turkey. The ones who are trying to make a solution impossible and the ones who are trying to dismay our Cypriot brothers and sisters through embargoes, we will never allow them. Whatever the result of the conference will be, we will always stand by our Turkish Cypriot brothers and sisters. As you know very well, with on land and air, we have initiated a comprehensive operation against the PKK and YPG offshoots in the region in northern Iraq. And as of 2015, the Turkish army has initiated a new concept in its fight against the terrorism. So without waiting for the terrorists come in front of our noses, we will employ the strategy of destroying the terrorists in their caves, which we have announced already to the whole globe. Within this perspective, we have carried out unprecedented operations against the terrorist organizations, both inside of Turkey and also abroad. Claw lightning and claw thunderbolt operations have been carried out in that purpose. Once again, I would like to congratulate our heroic soldiers who have partaken in those operations, and I wish their operations to be auspicious. Connecting with the military headquarters, we have extended our best wishes and commitments in our fight against the terrorism. As we have freed our borders from the attacks of the terrorists, we will never allow the terrorist organizations to be formed beyond our borders. Although there are the ones who do not understand our commitment and determination in our fight against the terrorism, we will make everybody accept the reality through our operations on the field. Unfortunately, we have two martyrs, and I pray for God on behalf of our martyrs. Hope their place will be in heaven. And we have wounded soldiers, but their situation is not serious, and I pray for speedy recovery to our wounded soldiers. And I am certain that the ones who are playing dirty games will eventually see our commitment and determination in our fight. So, whatever is necessary for the future of our nation, we will do it without a doubt. I pray for God to help our Turkish army, which is the pupil of our eye. My great nation, on 24th of April, Joe Biden, the American president, has published a statement, and unfortunately in this statement he has articulated sentences which are not having anything to do with the reality and which are ungroundless. Unfortunately, those statements made us so sad, as this is the case of every citizen in Turkey. This statement has been carried out under the pressure of radical Armenian groups. This is what we think. But all the same, this doesn't eradicate the destructive impact of this statement on bilateral relations. We do not think that such kind of statements are humanitarian, but if we would like to go on competing with such kind of unfortunate incidents, we are one of the few countries who will be giving this exam of humanity, including but not limited to United States of America. If they are facing with their dark history, they cannot give a response to the whole humanity. Unfortunately, in the Ottoman lands, the most humane and civilian activities have taken place. Unfortunately, half of the Ottoman population have faced death and the tragedy of deportation, and we don't say it, by the way. The Western historians have clearly articulated that 10 million people have faced the tragedy of death or deportation, but no picture or no shameful story can be seen about those people. But you can not also see any parliamentary decision regarding to the tragedy that those people have felt. You will only hear the sad stories of the grandfathers and grandmothers about their stories as they are explaining them with their eyes in tears. These people are Muslims, but they don't make their sad stories to be abused by other powers. So as a nation, we never acted, and we always forgot our sad stories, and we have opted for the virtue of looking forward. I do believe there are the ones who misunderstand this approach of us. From the losses in the Balkans to the invasions in the eastern part of our borders to the unkept promises in the southern axis, we should most probably make the ones responsible for those unfortunate events pay. We don't have to go beyond Turkey, from Adana to Antep, to Izmir to Afyon, from Istanbul to Çanakkale province, from Kars to Çanakkale. If all of our provinces are making their claims, I don't think that there will be any other word left to be articulated. The approach of the West regarding to the Armenian issue and the hypocrite attitude towards the terrorist organizations are stemming from this mentality. We are where we have been at the beginning. In order to disclose the reality about the historical past should be left to the experts of this field, who are the historians but not the politicians. We have repeated our proposals of founding a joint historical commission, but unfortunately we couldn't receive an answer to our offer. We have proposed to open our archives, but unfortunately our addressees have not given their response back. As we are self-confident about ourselves so much, they are the ones who are trying to politicize this issue rather than chasing after the reality, which I do believe speaks for itself. In addition to that, they are the ones who are confused about this issue inside of Turkey and also outside of Turkey. Let me clarify this issue. My august nation, under the leadership of our ancestors, Anatolian, have hosted many people from different religions, different ethnicities, and different beliefs where they live under peace. And like many other nations, Armenians have also won their religious freedom and they have strengthened their social status in the Ottoman Empire until the Ottoman-Russian War, which have taken place in 1878. This climate of peace and stability lasted. Just like many other nations, Armenians have also been given weapons in order to rebel against us. Even today, through asymmetrical war, the Balkan lands have been separated from the Ottoman Empire, and a similar scenario have been played in the eastern part of the Ottoman Empire with the participation of the Tsarist Russia. Until the beginning of the 20th century, the Armenian gangs have carried out more than 40 rebellious activities, but they have also looted the villages and the cities, and without discriminating based on elderlies, infants, or civilians, they have killed many Ottoman civilians. The members of those gangs are between 150,000 to 300,000, and they have also collaborated with the Russian army via the invasion of our lands. From Erzurum to the inner parts of the Anatolia, Turkish and Kurdish civilians have been massacred by the Armenian gangs during those times. What did happen on 24th of April? Well, nothing happened in terms of humanitarian tragedy. 24th of April 1915, this date is the date where the Ottoman Empire closed many Armenian gang-like organizations. And during that time, there wasn't any law regarding to resettlement. And as a result, no life has been lost on the date of 24th of April 1915. And the Armenians in the Republic of Turkey has also embraced this date as the Remembrance Day. Although we know what really happened on this date, we showed respect to the Armenian citizens. That's why we have sent them messages whereby sharing their grievances. And on 24th of April 1915, the law regarding the resettlement has been enacted in Ottoman Empire, which was put in place on the 1st of June. This was an important precaution which has been taken against the massacres carried out by the Armenian gangs to the Anatolian civilians. And we should also know that this date coincides with the Ottoman army fighting in many fronts, as anyone who can hold a weapon was fighting on the front. Only the infants, the mothers, and the elderlies have been left inside of the cities. And as a result, the Armenian gangs didn't fight against the Ottoman army, but they only massacred the innocent civilians. In one Zeve village, for example, 2,500 of all civilians have been massacred by the Armenian gangs. Only in the province of Mush, within a 1-year time frame, 20,000 of our citizens have been massacred by the Armenian gangs. And in Trabzon and also in Hakkari, the Jewish civilians have been mass killed by the Armenian gangs. If there were losses whereby different parties have fought each other, we can understand then those claims. But once again, I would like to reiterate that the Armenian gangs have massacred the Turkish and the Kurdish citizens and also the Caucasians. And the Armenian gangs have boasted about repelling those civilians from those lands, and many documents proving those statements are present in many archives of many countries. And the Ottoman Empire have enacted the law on resettlement so that the Armenian population have been relocated to another part of the Ottoman Empire, and this covered all the Armenians, including but not limited to Armenia. Regarding to the population which has been relocated, there are a variety of claims. Before the First World War, the total Armenian population in the Ottoman Empire was 1.3 million, and I am articulating this number based on the historical legal documents. I am not claiming such numbers like Biden does. I don't know how he can articulate those numbers, based on what. And we have more than 1 million documents which are proving the total number of the Armenians. I wonder how many documents there are in the American archives. If there are any, I wonder if they can open their archives for further research. I wonder whether there are such documents in the European archives, and I wonder whether they can open their archives for further research. We have repeatedly made our calls for opening our archives, but unfortunately we couldn't receive a response back. There are many documents which has been sent to the Russian archives, and there are also the relocated Armenians who went to Iran. And even in the American archives, it has been stated that the number of the relocated Armenians equal to 600,000, which in reality is even less. And the number of the Armenians who have lost their lives in their fight against the Ottoman forces is 150,000 only. Of course, each one of 150,000 Armenians has been a life bearer, but even the Armenian politicians admit that they are exaggerating this number by 10 times. And the Armenian historians also state that the biggest loss of life have taken place in the fronts. My august nation, the Ottoman Empire, didn't deport the Armenians, but we relocated them inside of our borders. And 1 week of a time frame has been given to them, but the ones who have excuses have been kept exempt from the relocation. And during the relocation, the necessary precautions have been taken, and the necessary equipments for the relocations of the Armenians have been sent to the local authorities. The Armenian infants and orphans have been embraced, and the orphanage have been founded for the Armenian orphans, Mr. Biden. And the aid to be dispatched to the Armenians in that time was not prevented at all. Inside of Turkey, there are many mass graveyards where the Turkish and Kurdish citizens have been massacred by the Armenians, but you cannot find such a graveyard for Armenians inside of Turkey. And approximately 300,000 Armenians continue to live inside of many provinces, including but not limited to Istanbul. And as of today, approximately 100,000 Armenians still live inside of our country. And this figure once reached to the level of 650,000 after they returned back to their lands after the war. I do believe and think that if people had been massacred in those lands, they wouldn't have returned back. According to the British statistics, the total Armenian population was stated to be 1.2 million. And this is in line with the losses of life before and after the First World War. The majority of the Armenians who have been relocated to Lebanon and Syria have migrated to the European continent and to the United States of America. The ones who are supporting the Armenian accusations and theses try to present as if everyone has been murdered. And if the Ottoman Empire didn't relocate the Armenian population to other provinces, the Ottoman Empire would have to withdraw some of their troops from the front so that the security of the provinces where there are upheavals can be contained. And if that was the case, then the Ottoman army wouldn't be fighting against the enemy, but try to contain those upheavals inside of its borders. Well, this could even endanger our independence war. And that was what the enemy wanted. And they have used the Armenians in this hideous scenario, and when they couldn't reach to their targets, they even didn't stop abusing the Armenians. And the more than 80% of the population where the Armenian state has been founded as of today, the Muslims lived in those lands, but unfortunately, as of now, we don't see any Muslims or Circassians living in the lands of today's Armenia. And it is also crystal clear what has been carried out in Nagorno-Karabakh. Once again, I would like to make a call. Mr. Biden, Minsk Group has been founded. Who was the members of the Minsk Group? USA, Russia, and France. And for more than 30 years, you didn't save these people from the Armenian occupation. Unfortunately, our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters, more than 1 million of them, have had to migrate from those lands. These provinces, Karabakh province, all the buildings have been burned down to their ashes. If you speak about genocide, then you have to first assess yourselves looking at the mirror. The whole truth is crystal clear. Karabakh. I don't even have to speak about the Indians. It is crystal clear what happened to them. As those realities are crystal clear, you cannot put the blame on the Turkish people with the genocide. While tens of thousands of civilians have been massacred, while 1 million of our Azerbaijani brothers and sisters have to leave their households, you cannot put the blame on us. One of the reasons why the Armenians are always articulating the concept of genocide is due to their fear of being kept responsible for the violations they have carried out so far and the massacres that they have carried out so far. They are trying to cover their shame and anger with this lie, as they are being deceived and manipulated by the foreign powers. That's why they are trying to cover their wrongdoings. My august nation, during the First World War, when more than 10 million people have lost their lives, if we have to make an assessment based on the loss of civilian lives, we should remember a couple of incidents. In the same period, the Tsarist Russia have deported many of its German ethnic citizens to Siberia, fearing that they can cooperate and collaborate with the German army, and many of those people have been left to death under harsh conditions. An Austria-Hungarian Empire have either hanged or sent their Russian citizens to death in the concentration camps. We have lost 5 million of our citizens in the Balkans and in the Caucasus, and 5 million of those citizens had to leave their homelands. And once again, I would like to remind that the relocation of the Armenians during that time should be assessed under such conditions. If we say that the relocation of the Armenians was a genocide, then what happens in the rest of the Europe and Russia is even worse than that. And there has been many events which can be deemed as genocide in the history of the United States of America, from the Indians to Afro-Americans, to the atomic bombs hitting the Japanese lands from Vietnam to Iraq. Many of those killings can be opened for further discussion. From South Africa to the Far East Asia, many of the nations are still carrying the wounds of their past. The tragedies which occurred in our lands during the First World War is just a part of what many people all around the world experienced. The term genocide has been coined after the 1948 Convention, which cannot be used retrospectively. This is really important. In order for something to be called genocide, there should be clear proofs and the international court verdicts. There aren't any concrete evidences proving that there was an Armenian genocide. There isn't even any international court decision. We have repeatedly made calls for opening our archives so that we can disclose the reality. Since we are confident about ourselves, we are ready for any assessments, any historical researches. And in addition to that, we also are ready to open our archives to the researchers who are prejudged about Turkey. But unfortunately, the United States of America are embracing the lies and groundless accusations and allegations of the radical parties. They are not only showing hostility towards us, but they are also betraying signs. There are well-known historians who are only chasing after reality. They are being criticized, and there are even the examples whereby saying that the genocide doesn't exist is unlawful. Asala terrorist organization have massacred many of our public officers, our diplomats, who doesn't carry a weapon, and we didn't forget those hideous attacks on our diplomats, Mr. Biden. We will never forget them. We know how those terrorists are being released from their prisons and how they are oriented towards attacking our diplomats. And we are also aware of the fact that the big Armenian dream is tried to be realized through the terrorist organizations like PKK. As we foiled the game of those foreign powers in the past, we will also dash the hopes and the traps of those powers which are trying to set against us via terrorist organizations like PKK and YPG. You should have no doubt. My august nation, we hope that the United States of America will return back from this mistake. The accusations like genocide are very sensitive topics which shouldn't be abused by politicians. If those politicians are blabbing around without being the expert in history, then those problems will turn into bottlenecks which we cannot solve. We believe that history is something from which we should take lessons. Those discussions do not do any good to the Armenian society, but quite the contrary. Such kind of steps will be the source for further problems and challenges. We have no problem with the Armenian nation because we have been living together with them in the same lands for more than 1,000 years, and we have been living with them under peace. And based on good neighborly relations, we would like to enhance our relations with the state of Armenia. That's why over the last 16 years we have taken many steps whereby we have sacrificed a lot. Unfortunately, a sincere answer didn't come for our goodwill. After the Karabakh issue has been resolved, we do believe that a positive climate has been created for enhancing our bilateral relations. But unfortunately, the statements articulated by the American president only made our relations worse. But the sun of the truth will rise no matter what they say. For many years, we had close relations with the United States of America as two close allies. Fethullah terrorist organization, PKK, YPG, which are the red lines of the Republic of Turkey, has been unfortunately supported, and S-400 crisis have also inflicted damage on our bilateral relations. And with the 24th of April statement, unfortunately, Turkish-American relations have worsened even further. With our unprecedented potential and geographical advantages, and with the strength that we are receiving from our history, we will continue to march towards our targets in a determined and committed fashion. And we will never allow them to make us budge an inch from our targets. The ones who think that we will withdraw from our targets should know that they are wrong. With all our sincerity, we will cooperate and collaborate with the European countries and the United States of America based on equal and just conditions. As the global economy is being shaped again these days, we do believe that this cooperation will be for the benefit of everyone. Our only request from those parties is to away from unjust sanctions and unjust implementations which are being taken based on groundless accusations. As long as our red lines are being respected, we will be ready to cooperate and collaborate in every platform whatsoever with everyone. In our talk that we have decided together with the United States of America President Joe Biden, we will discuss those issues on June, and I hope that a new door for opportunity will be opened for our bilateral relations. And I would like to remind once again that we are no foreigners to each other. And Mr. Biden showed a courtesy to visit me when I am sick. But as the two important allies in NATO, how come that an Armenian lobby is preferred over Turkey, which has nothing to do with the NATO? So we expect from our addressee to leave aside those issues which are poisoning our bilateral relations, and let's come together to talk how we can enhance our relations. Otherwise, this low level of bilateral relations after 24th of April will leave us to do nothing but to take necessary measures. Together with my brother, the President of Azerbaijan, we have discussed those issues and we have talked over the phone about the common steps that we have taken together. The most important message has been given to those who wanted no solution in the region after the Karabakh resolution together with Azerbaijan. And it is unfortunately so upsetting that certain parties in Turkey have also embraced the lie of genocide by overlooking the historical fact. So we are under attack both from outside and also inside of our borders. And I would like to leave the assessment of those parties to the discretion of our nation, of my citizens. We will always be working for what is right and what is for the interest of our nation, and we will continue with our cause even if we are going to lose our life. My august nation, the coronavirus, still a huge problem in the global sense. The coronavirus and its severity fluctuates from time to time, and we are doing our best in order to manage this pandemic. Thanks to God, we have no problems regarding to the deliverance of the healthcare services. And in order to increase the quality of the healthcare services provided to our citizens, we are also taking additional steps. And in addition to the services provided to our healthcare citizens, healthcare services to our citizens, we have increased our service capacity to 10 to 20%. And also, we have increased support given to our citizens regarding to their dialysis support by 20%, and regarding to the government support given to celiac disease patient, we have increased our capacity by 25%, which will be increased 25% even further as of August. I pray for God that those steps to be auspicious for the well-being of our citizens. By taking into consideration the challenging conditions of the pandemic and the month of Ramadan, we have dispatched the potato and onions to our citizens with the low socioeconomic level. Unfortunately, the precautions have to be tightened as the numbers went up, and we have started seeing that those precautions come to fruition already, and we have discussed those precautions in great depth and detail in our cabinet meeting, and without sacrificing from the cleanliness and preserving hygiene and wearing masks rules, we would like to make sure that the well-being and the health of our citizens will be protected. Of course, it will be inevitable to tighten the precautions when the death toll increases and at the same time the number of new infected cases rise. It is obligatory to decrease the number of new infected cases. As the Europe relaxes their precautions, in order not to be left behind, we have to decrease the number of those new cases below 5,000. Otherwise, we will pay a huge price in many fields, including but not limited to education, tourism, and many others. In order to provide further flexation to our precautions, we have to sacrifice a little further. But first and foremost, I would like to make something very clear. If we are receiving complaints that the payments are demanded regarding to vaccinations and intensive care units, nothing can be charged from the private hospital regarding to COVID vaccination and ICU service. If our citizens communicate those demands to our Ministry of Health, then the necessary sanctions will be put in place. I also would like to give the good news that our muhtars will be vaccinated who worked day and night for the organization of the vaccination process. On 29th of April 2021, as of 7 p.m. until the 17th of May 2021, 5 a.m., complete lockdown will be put in place. So during this time frame, uninterrupted curfew will be put in place. As it was stipulated in the communique of the Ministry of Interior Affairs, excluding the institutions which are kept exempt from the curfew and lockdown conditions, the complete lockdown will be put in place. In addition to that, the ones who are keeping with the hygiene conditions can give their services. So all of those shopping malls will be closed in the aforementioned hours, and the intercity buses will be able to work with 50% capacity. The reservations in the hospitality sector and for the intercity travels, the reservations which have been made beforehand will be no exemption. And our public officers will be either working from their houses or in rotation, and they will be subject to curfew and complete lockdown. And face-to-face education will be interrupted, and all the exams will be delayed. In order to enable the agricultural workers to work under the conditions of the pandemic, the necessary precautions will be taken. Our elder citizens who cannot go outside or go to shopping, they can ask for help from our VEFA voluntary teams, and we will take every necessary action in order to meet the needs of our citizens. In order to yield the optimum results, the rules will be obeyed and no sacrifices will be made whatsoever. Hopefully, those precautions will come to fruition at the end of the Ramadan feast by reaching out to welfare, stability, and peace. May God help us all stay healthy and safe.